right, here we go. Another Thursday, getting ready to make you some money today, and I certainly hope your day has gone swimmingly. But let me welcome those of you in joining us for the very first time. It's another edition of the Joe Raineri Show, brought to you by WagerTalk.com. And knowledge is power. You guys know I tell you that all the time. If you are planning on getting involved in any sort of sports wagering, and congratulations to those of you in New Mexico who have now found yourself with the ability to legally bet on sports there, and you'll have sports books popping up all throughout the state. Congratulations. But knowledge is power, folks, and today we are loaded with knowledge, not to mention WagerTalk.com is the place you got to go for all the knowledge that you'll ever need if you're just getting started in sports wagering. That's where you got to go. Not to mention, you'll have access to over a dozen or so of the best sports handicappers around the country, all at your fingertips. And we're going to have one of those on the show like we do each and every Thursday. A little bit later, Ralph Michaels is going to drop by, give us his thoughts on not only tonight's NFL and college games, but also some of the key matchups both Saturday in college and in the NFL on Sunday. This is like an NFL sandwich, all right? This is where you get the knowledge you need in order to be able to make some money. So we love when Ralph comes on the show. He's going to join us just a little bit later. Speaking of just total football knowledge, Matt Vertime is going to join us from Fansided.com. If you guys have been to Fansided.com, you know it's one of my favorite websites to go and check out. The articles, the pieces written there by these guys are fantastic. The takes are great. The information is fantastic, and they're also wired in. So Matt Vertime is going to join us. We're going to talk to him about a whole plethora of NFL situations and storylines that are affecting the league as we head into Week 7. Plus, and I'm going to start off with this guy because I know he's busy. He's going to be covering the Boston Red Sox-Houston Astros game again tonight, elimination game for the Houston Astros. But let me start off by giving you guys the phone number up top as well. Our Miami Acura hotline, 855-983-2255. That is how you reach us here on the show, and your thoughts, opinions always matter to us, so we definitely want to hear from you. 855-WTF-2255. If you're joining us across any one of the million or so platforms that we are streaming to you live on, that would include Twitter and Periscope and YouTube and Twitch and Facebook and probably 5 or 6 others that I've never heard of yet but are probably stealing the transmission. Doesn't make a damn bit of difference. We welcome all of you. Your comments are always welcome, too, in the chat rooms, as we've got Make It Rain joining us here on Twitter. We've got Sal and the boys joining us on YouTube. We've got Jeremy and company on Facebook Live. Want to welcome all of you guys in. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. And before we get to Scott Miller, who is the authority on Major League Baseball, for BleacherReport.com, one of my favorite reporters. I reached out to him purposely to try to get him on the show today because what writers and what the media are doing to this poor son of a bitch from last night is beyond me. And I'm pointing to you, Bob Nightingale from USA Today. If you guys didn't watch the game last night, and I'm talking about the Houston Astros and the Boston Red Sox, it appears that we have learned absolutely nothing from Steve Bartman 100 years ago and the Cubs, and how that poor son of a bitch had to go into witness protection because he interfered with the Cubs and Moises Alou there down the left field line and ended up eventually costing them the game. Moises Alou could have made the catch, but of course, poor Bartman with his headphones on stood up, interfered. Moises Alou did not catch it. The Marlins end up going on winning the series and then eventually heading to the World Series. So if we learned nothing from then, it's that you probably don't, as the media, want to make a big deal of a fan being a fan. And we had another situation last night where a fan was called for interference in the game in the first inning. And it was a Houston Astros fan, no less, of all things. So let's see if we can get the video up, because I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to see this last night. But if you didn't, we'll go ahead and play this here for you guys so you can see what's going on. All right, this was Altuve in the first inning. All right, this is Mookie Betts out there. And this poor guy in the orange shirt, well, it hits his hand, right? And then Joe West says, nope, sorry about that. Fan interference. They end up going to the replay booth, and they call Altuve out. It would have been a 2-run homer. They ended up losing 8-6. They lost by 2 runs. And then this poor guy, who all he wanted to do was go to a damn baseball game, he probably walked into the stadium and was like, holy shit, look at these seats. Like, we're right up here. We're right. Mookie Betts is right there. We've got, possibility of a home run ball. We've got just a rowdy crowd out there at Tropicana Field. I mean, just awesome stuff there. Not the Tropicana. That would be in Tampa Bay. But it would just be so amazing to be able to sit there in those seats, first inning, Boston Red Sox, Houston Astros. You're going to root your team on. You got to be so pumped up. And then sure enough, you've got the opportunity to catch a ball in the stands. And unfortunately, you didn't catch it, but neither did Mookie Betts. And whether or not it was interference or it wasn't, and a lot of people are taking sides on this because a lot of people feel the rule is, if a Major League Baseball player goes into the stands to catch a foul ball and somebody interferes with him, well, the rule is stated that, tough shit, sorry on you. It's only when a player gets interfered with in the field of play, that there might be fan interference or or somebody's going to call it and they're going to review it. But this poor son of a bitch, his name, of course, and the reason I know his name is because the media did a great job of telling all of us who he is. His name is Troy Caldwell. And he is a guy that then had to spend the next 5 innings doing interviews at his seat by national media members, plastering this guy not only all over social media, but all over, the broadcast last night, people taking video, they're giving his name, they're doing the whole 9, and as if we've completely forgotten about what happened to Bartman in a very similar situation. Now, there are those of you that will say this is not even close to what Bartman was. Bartman happened in the 8th inning. This happened in the 1st inning. Yes, I get that. But you're talking about fans here, and when I mean fans is short for fanatics, because that's what they are. Do you think there are a certain base of the population who are Houston Astro fans that give a rat's ass whether or not it was the 1st inning or the 8th inning? All they know is that was 2 runs on the board. You lost by 2 runs, and because this guy was called for fan interference, it's his fault. So as ridiculous as that may seem to Yankee fans who have Jeffrey, we all know about that, or to anybody else, any other sports fans who don't have a horse in this race, who don't care about the Red Sox or the Astros, you probably look at this and go, what the hell is the big deal? Well, the big deal is that you plastered this guy's name all over the place, and then guys like Bob Nightingale throw this in USA Today as a lead. This was his headline. Astros know who to blame if they don't reach the World Series. Are you shitting me, Bob Nightingale? Seriously? Have we learned nothing about that poor son of a bitch? Bartman had to go to witness protection, never had the same life, had to move out of the city, almost change his name. It was ridiculous. And yes, the circumstances and the times were a little bit different with the Cubs. I get that. But shouldn't we err on the side of precaution? Shouldn't we be better than that in the media, where we don't antagonize fans, fanatics of a certain team who God knows what they'll do? We've got a big enough issue between bullying and everything else on social media. What you did is you went for the next 5 innings. This guy had to spend time, instead of watching the game, he was doing interviews by members of the media who were coming at. It was only the 1st inning. They had plenty of time to recoup from that 2-run home run that was called. You had plenty of time to recruit as an Astros team, as an Astros fan. But to lead with headlines like this, to put this guy's name out there so morons on social media and every place else have a finger to point. Now, because if the Red Sox lose tonight, and there's a good chance they've got Verlander on the mound, so there's a good chance that they will at least extend this series. But if they were to happen to lose tonight, you know what's going to happen. There's going to be a certain amount of Astro fans that are going to look for this guy, and then he's not even going to be able to go get a cup of coffee in a big-ass city like Houston, no less. Don't forget, Chicago's a pretty big city, too, and Bartman had to leave it and change his name. There are going to be a lot of people chasing this guy and pointing fingers at him, and it doesn't help when you have guys like Bob Nightingale, who should know better than this. I mean, to lead with that is just absolutely ridiculous. And you had 44,000 people there. Everyone thought it was a home run. And then, Caldwell himself started cheering afterwards. And then once Joe West came down there, and you don't usually see that call for a home team, no less. A home team will usually get the benefit of the doubt there. Joe West shot his arm up in the air. All of a sudden, we've got replay. And then they waited 3 minutes and 13 seconds. It seemed like an eternity. And then once they called him out, this poor guy was just, when I tell you, the sinking feeling in his gut must have been unbelievable. In fact, in one of the interviews, he even said, I'm going to need the security to escort me out of here if the Astros don't come back and win this. Because he knew what was coming. He absolutely knew what was coming. And when you expect fans to put reason together, and not be overboard and be fanatical, you're asking an awful lot. And this poor guy's life is forever changed in that city, whether you want to believe it or you don't want to believe it. It's going to happen, especially if they end up losing tonight and Verlander can't win. They are never going to forget this. They're not going to forget this poor guy. The call sucked, if you ask me. I mean, the call was absolutely terrible. You should never have this kind of call in a situation like this. And once again, I'll play it for you for those of you that didn't get a chance to see it. The guy in the orange shirt here is definitely, where is he? Yeah. It hit his hand. The guy in the orange shirt, first of all, he should have caught the damn ball. Probably wouldn't have had a problem there. But Joe West calls in. They review it. He gets thrown out. And the headlines across social media and across whatever newspapers are left in this country is you gave everyone a reason and a scapegoat. You gave everyone a reason to hate who wanted the Houston Astros to be able to win. And the fact that they lost by 2 runs, that's just baseball gods being cruel. The fact that they lost by 2 runs and the media, whether you even read the bulk of that story or not, the simple fact that this was the headline and that is the headline you're going to read across social media platforms, then that's all people are going to remember, because you and I both know they only read headlines. They're never going to read the meat of the story. They're just going to say, oh, yeah, this tool bag out in right field ended up costing them a game. What a loser. Oh, my God, I hate him. And that's kind of what you've done. You threw this guy under the bus, and not just Bob Nightingale, but a lot of members of the media should have just let well enough alone and let this poor guy be and say, it's the first inning, let's move on, we'll get back, you can get back in this. And they did get back in it. Unfortunately, the bullpens weren't able to hold the Red Sox bats, and the Red Sox ended up making a couple of fantastic plays, especially the one by Benintendi at the end of the game. I don't know if you guys saw this, with Bergman up, bases loaded. He doesn't get the barrel of the bat on there, but that was a play for the third out, bottom of the 9th inning, and that was the play that he pulls out. That was balls, when I tell you, balls. That was the catch Benintendi had there, and congratulations. I mean, he went for it. A lot of guys would have played that safe and just said, you know what, instead of letting the ball if that ball gets by me, the game is over, by the way, and Houston wins. But the kid went for it, and especially with Bergman up, no less. You got Kimball on the mound. He doesn't get all of it, but if that ball gets by him, the game is over. Houston wins. So hats off to the Boston Red Sox. You won 108 games this year because of plays like this. So, but to me, the real story was the way the media treated this poor guy out in right field, and what this guy is now going to have to go through from this particular point on. And the reason I reached out to Scotty Miller is because I love Scott Miller. I love his perspective on Major League Baseball. He's with BleacherReport.com. Scotty Miller is a guy who took this very story, okay, and his article today talked about how the replay system is bullshit in Major League Baseball and how they have to address this and get it correct, because more times than not, it's wrong. And I thought that was a great point of view, and I thought that should have been more of the headline instead of telling me who Troy Caldwell is and spending 5 innings in the outfield plastering this guy, making him a household name in Houston across the country. I thought that was total bush league by the media. And here's Scotty Miller coming over the top and telling me that the big problem here is, why is replay is botching more calls than they're getting right. The whole system is ridiculous, And there's no way you could have watched that from a replay standpoint and not have gone, that was a home run. He was in the stands. So I thought his take on it was pretty cool. That's why we're going to talk to him in just a couple of minutes from BleacherReport.com, that being Scott Miller. I want to get his thoughts on what he witnessed last night. I also want to get his thoughts on Major League Baseball, who has a New England Patriots Spygate situation on their hands. But if you didn't notice, the Houston Astros, and maybe this is kismet, this is karma going on, but the Houston Astros have been accused of cheating, stealing signs, using equipment to be able to spy into dugouts of opposing teams. And it didn't happen just once. There are a number of Major League Baseball teams that have complained about this, and Major League Baseball hasn't addressed it. But instead, Major League Baseball very quietly kiboshed the whole thing yesterday by releasing a statement saying, all good here, nothing to see. Yep, no cheating. We're good to go. They may pay a little fine, but yep, nothing here. No cheaters, no nothing. Baseball is very cognizant of the whole cheating ad. They don't want a Spygate during the playoffs at this particular point. Baseball doesn't want that stink on them. But what they ended up doing was pissing off a lot of franchises in professional baseball who think there is a serious problem with this, and they think more and more teams do it. And they're pretty pissed off that all the Astros, who, let us not forget what they did with the Cardinals. Remember hacking into the Cardinals organization there? Remember that? They feel that, yeah, the Houston Astros are getting a pass on this where they shouldn't be. So there's a lot of people in Major League Baseball not happy with that right now. So we're going to go ahead and talk to Scott Miller coming up here in a minute. Want to say hello to Christy Taylor. Christy Taylor joining us. Great to talk to you. Great to be in sports again, Christy. It's a pleasure to see you. Thank you for dropping by on Facebook. Look at Making It Rain, man. Making It Rain coming in over the top here today. Look at that. Battled for the boys. Got the win. Love Making It Rain joining us via Twitter. And for Frankie and you guys on YouTube, thank you very much also. If you like what you see here, guys, this is how it works when you stream in the streaming world and on social media. Hit the like, hit the retweet, hit the subscribe, do all of those kinds of things. Follow us. We certainly do appreciate it. And don't forget, you can call us as well. Always want to hear your thoughts. The Miami Acura hotline, 855 WTF 2255. That's 855-983-2255. Make sure you guys hit us up. Definitely want to get your thoughts on that whole Bush League call with fan interference. And do you guys think that Bob Nightingale and others in the national media kind of crossed the line there with this guy, especially given what we know with guys like Bartman in the past? Did they cross the line? Would love to hear from you guys. 855-983-2255. And before we bring on Scotty Miller of BleacherReport.com, we do want to thank our sponsors for making this certainly possible here today. Miami Acura, for one. We love our peeps at Miami Acura. Why? Because, well, if you ever have thought about getting that car of your dreams, something that you've wanted, and you're like, you know what, I can't afford it. Yeah, well, I got news for you. Miami Acura makes dreams come true. Why? The all-new 2019 RDX, completely redesigned, and the deals right now at the end of the year are unheard of. You've got to go take it for a test drive. It's the all-new, completely redesigned, every bell and whistle you can imagine included in the packages. It's the 2019 RDX. For those of you who know who Pitbull is and understand the 305 South Dixie Highway is where you will find them. For those of you who have no idea what a Pitbull is outside of a dog, then you need to call 855-564-4669. That's 855-564-4669. Tell them Joe sent you. Go take that test drive right now, the all-new 2019 RDX. And get ready for it. Coming up in just about 12 minutes, we will bring our good friend on, Ralph Michaels from WagerTalk.com. He's going to give us his point of view on not only tonight's college and NFL games, but a whole slew of slate games for Saturday and Sunday. College football, NFL, knowledge is power, and this is where you get it. That's with Ralph Michaels coming up here in just about 10 minutes. Well, guys, Major League Baseball, Championship Series, National League, and the American League, they've been, if nothing else, just given us plenty of drama to wrap our heads around here, which is great because we love this time of year. And nobody better to talk baseball with than Scott Miller, Bleacher Report, lead MLB writer. He joins us via the Miami Acura hotline. And Scott, let's start with the story that seems to somehow or another gotten buried rather quickly by Major League Baseball. Do we have a Spygate situation here with the Astros? Did they take a page out of the New England Patriots book or no?
You know, you talk to people around the game, they say yes. The Astros deny. But, you know, what do you expect? Baseball, the official word is no, because baseball claims it's investigated and it's put the matter to bed, and basically you move on. There's nothing to see here.
Yeah, well, the problem is that we've got a lot of Major League Baseball teams that are scratching their head. Actually, a lot of Major League Baseball teams have no problem, I guess, coming out at this point and being very disappointed with Major League Baseball's just open and shut case of this.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I mean, and look, it's not just the Astros. Baseball's going to have to get a handle on technology because, you know, I mean, there are a lot of teams that you know, use digital stuff, and you know, other teams than the Astros are accused. You know, there's a lot of paranoia. Let's put it this way, Joe. There are a lot of teams accuse teams other than the Astros of doing the same thing. You know, the Astros seem to be at the forefront of the accusations, but you know, they're certainly not alone.
And Scott Miller joining us at Scott Miller, BBL, BleacherReport.com. Scott, let me ask you this, because you wrote a pretty interesting article last night. Joe West decides to come in and he tells the whole world that, yes, we've got fan interference. People are going crazy. But your point of view was, you know what? They got to get a handle on this whole replay system because in your eyes, it's broke. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, how often do we hear about pace of play issues? You know, replay takes too long, and it doesn't always get things right. I mean, look at that play last night. I mean, there are still people today raging, saying, you know, look, that was not fan interference. The ball was on the fan side of the wall. There are other people who say the replay was inconclusive. You know, the replay officials that looked it over say inconclusive, and so they let Joe West call stand. You know, after all this, there was not a definitive camera angle last night. And, you know, it seems pretty elementary on a boundary call. There's got to be cameras that run along the walls or that can give you a better angle and better view than what we got last night, where everybody comes away, you know, unsatisfied, except, you know, obviously the Red Sox were thrilled. The Astros were livid.
And I'm wondering, Scott Miller, here you are now. The Astros find themselves in a big hole, down 3-1. Can they rattle off 3 victories against a team that won 108 games this year, and a couple of those games having to be on the road at Fenway? Is it possible, or is this series over?
It's possible. I mean, I certainly you'd like to be in the Red Sox shoes. But, you know, look, the Astros have Justin Verlander going tonight. So you could look at tonight's game and say, you know, and David Price is going on short rest for the Red Sox. You know, you could say advantage Verlander and the Astros. That gets it back to to Boston. You know, then you would have Dallas Keuchel going. You got Garrett Cole going. I mean, with Verlander, Cole, and Keuchel, you can't say the series is over.
And what is do we have any idea what's going on with Chris Sale? Again, another illness, hospitalized, feeling better. Now, he would have been going tonight instead of David Price. Do we have any update on him?
Yeah, the Red Sox say he's going to be fine. He lost a little bit of weight. He's recovering from that stomach situation, and you know they like his. You know, I think if it was if the Red Sox were down 3-1 instead of up 3-1, I think maybe you'd see him push Chris Sale. Maybe he'd go tonight, but you know, right now they're playing it safe. Give him an extra day or two.
Scott Miller joining us, BleacherReport.com, MLB writer. Let's switch to the National League game. Dodgers now up 3-2. What the hell happened to Dodgers? All of a sudden, they led the National League in home runs. They love the long ball, and now they're up 3-2 because they've done nothing but play small ball better than anybody else. What's with the Dodgers, Scott?
Well, I mean, you know, the credit the Dodgers for their versatility, because you're right. During the season, it was all or nothing: home run, or strikeout. They ranked way down at the bottom of the league in batting average with runners in scoring position, for example. But that said, you're right. You know, they've veered a little bit towards small ball, and it's helped them against the Brewers. And you've got to be able to play that way in October because you're facing the very best pitching. And if all you're going to do is hit home runs and not be able to do anything else, you're not going to last in October, because it's funny how the home runs come a lot more during the regular season when you're facing the pitching staff of the San Diego Padres and teams like that than when you're facing the top shelf pitchers of playoff ball.
It's so true there. And, you know, one of the other narratives that I look at, Scott, with the Milwaukee Brewers, they send out Wade Smiley there for one batter, then they take him out. And not just the Brewers, but has baseball just gotten too smart for their own good? Are we getting too crafty here with all the analytics?
Well, I mean, you know, it plays out over time. I think in terms of what the Brewers are doing with their pitching, you couldn't do that over a 162-game season because you'd burn out the relief pitchers. There's just no way it would last. In the playoffs, you know, you're seeing all kinds of different pitching moves. I mean, it's like last night. You know, Eduardo Rodriguez for the Red Sox was lined up to start Game 5 tonight. Well, they used him in relief last night. They had David Price warming up. You know, in these short series, more and more teams have moved toward being creative and imaginative with their pitchers. And, you know, that the Brewers have to by necessity, because if you line up their rotation with Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, Hyun-Jin Ryu, or pretty much with any other team in the playoffs, their rotation does not stack up. So, you know, they've got that great bullpen. They've moved guys around. You know, credit to Craig Counsell. They've done what they've needed to do, and it's been very successful.
And how about Manny Machado? Is Manny Machado the villain Major League Baseball needs right now? Because every sport needs him. The NBA needs him. The NFL needs him. But doesn't Major League Baseball need a villain like Manny Machado?
You're right. Villains help stir excitement and sell sports, and Manny Machado's the perfect guy right now. You know, I mean, that was pretty much universally panned, his kicking of Jesus the other night, and you know, Manny seems to be fine with it. You know, he's not admitted doing anything wrong. He's not going to change his style. He's already told us hustling's not his cup of tea, so he plays a little differently, and you know. There are going to be people taking their shots at Manny.
Yeah, there are, certainly. Now, unlike the Astros, who've dug themselves a pretty big hole, the Brewers, to me, the Brewers and the Dodgers, it still feels like this can go any way. Are we right in thinking that way?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you have to like the Dodgers' chances right now for a couple of reasons. One, they're up 3-2, obviously. Secondly, you know, I mean, the Brewers had Game 2 in the bag, and they let it get away in the late innings with just a couple of outs to go. The extra inning game the other night, the Brewers had a chance to win, you know, several chances to win. You could argue that the Brewers could have swept the Dodgers. I'm not sure by giving away 2 games, Game 2 and the extra inning game, I'm not sure you can beat the Dodgers if you continue to give them extra chances. So we'll see. The one thing the Brewers have going in their favor, of course, is going back to Milwaukee and, you know, for Game 6 and/or 7.
Yeah, well, it's listen, it's a lot's got to play out yet tonight. You got the Astros, you got Boston. You got to follow Bleacher Report, Scott Miller. Make sure you guys follow him. Hit him up on Twitter. Nobody covers the game quite like he does. And, Scott, I appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you very much. Enjoy the games, and we'll do this again soon.
Sounds good. My pleasure, Joe. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Scott Miller, BleacherReport.com. Yeah, I got to tell you, man, love Scott Miller, love his takes. He is definitely worth a follow on Twitter, guys. If you love baseball, nobody covers it quite like he does. So appreciate his time. I know he's crazy. He's on his way to the game right now, so we certainly do appreciate him taking a few minutes out and talking to us about the Busch League instant replay and what's going on with Major League Baseball and how they just buried the whole Spygate situation with the Houston Astros. And he said something interesting, too, I thought. He said they're not the only ones that are apparently doing this across the league, and there's a lot of teams that are pretty bent out of shape about it. So good stuff with there. I want to thank him so very much once again. Ralph Michaels getting ready to join us, wagertalk.com. He's going to give us his thoughts on tonight's game as well as in both, as a matter of fact, Major League Baseball, not Major League Baseball, college football and the NFL. Both have a slate of games tonight, and we'll hear from him. Also, he'll tell us exactly who he likes Saturday and Sunday this week. Phone number, guys, how do you reach us? 855-WTF-2255. That's 855-983-2255. We'll go to the phones right now. Hey, man, welcome in. It's the Joe Raineri Show. Who's this? Nice. Oh, they're playing some really cool stuff there. 855-983-2255. Sounded like a damn doctor's office. That's how you reach us here on the show. Welcome in. Look at Pizza Mike joining us via Facebook Live from a hospital bed, so that's actually pretty exciting. Always a pleasure to see Pizza Mike joining us. Thank you very much there. Hope you're feeling well, brother. And tonight also happens to be, for the first time, and I want to make sure I have this correct, tonight is a pretty historic night because it's the first time, I think, that we have had, or it's actually the second day in history to have an NBA, NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, FBS college football, and a Major League Soccer game, which means that gamblers, this is heart attack night for a lot of those gambling who enjoy sports betting. You've got no shortage of games to be able to play tonight and take the action, but NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB, FBS college football, and a Major League Soccer game. That is unbelievable. The last time it happened was in 2009, and some professional handicappers I know haven't recovered since then. But another opportunity tonight to either cash in big or lose your ass. And we don't want you to lose your ass because we actually want you to be able to win. Stanford, Arizona State tonight. Also, you've got Arkansas State, Georgia State taking the field. ESPN has that. Plenty of opportunities. Denver taking on the Arizona Cardinals in the NFL, and we're going to get our man Ralph Michaels. We're going to get his thoughts on what he likes and who he likes, and we are going to do that coming up here in 2.5 minutes. But first, of course, we want to thank our sponsors here on the show, Low Cost Airlines, Superior Cruise and Travel, and our good friends at Miami Acura. If you guys are planning on seeing any games around the country this year, Low Cost Airlines, that is definitely the place you want to go. If you need a little vacation, you need to get away for a couple of days, you want to come down to South Florida, Superior Cruise and Travel. Also, amazing deals, great folks. Can't thank them enough for joining us here on the Joe Raineri Show. And listen, they support us, so we're hoping that you guys will support them. And, of course, our friends at Miami Acura. Go take a test drive. The all-new 2019 completely redesigned RDX. It is yours. They are waiting for you. And coming up, 2.5 minutes, we'll be back with Ralph Michaels from wagertalk.com. Get your number 2 pencil sharpened. Get ready to take some notes because Ralph, he's going to help you make some money, not only tonight, but this weekend. So get ready for that. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Why? Because you can save 45% on packages compared to your high-priced cable bill. Wow. Take those giant scissors out and cut the cable and save with Dish TV. Plus, you get a free DVR upgrade to record your favorite shows and free installation. And with Dish Anywhere, you can watch TV for free on your mobile device. Act fast. You can save hundreds of dollars. Does your cable company do that for you? I don't think so. Get all the best TV programming at your fingertips at a fraction of the price of cable TV. So say adios, arrivederci, goodbye to the high cable bill and save up to 45% on Dish TV packages today. These are limited time offers and can change at any time. Call fast. 800-293-0328. 800-293-0328. 800-293-0328. That's 800-293-0328.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
800-764-9168. 800-764-9168. 800-764-9168. That's 800-764-9168.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-761-1427. 800-761-1427. 800-761-1427. That's 800-761-1427.
Get ready to talk sports. It's the Say It With Me podcast. Now here's your host, Joe Raineri.
Coming up top of the hour, sportingnews.com fantasy expert Matt Latofsky. He's going to join us, do a little stardom sit-em, hit the waiver wire, try and make you guys some money, not only in daily fantasy, but certainly in the year-round lings. That's okay. I can speak. The year-round leagues. For those of you that might have had Devonta Freeman and you're trying to figure it out, or of those of you that whose quarterback is now out or has a bye week and you're trying to figure out what to do, Matt Latofsky is going to help us navigate through it. That is coming up top of the hour, 5 o'clock, Matt Latofsky, sportingnews.com. But now it is time for our wagertalk.com handicap guru. All right, guys, another Thursday, which means our good friend from wagertalk.com, Ralph Michaels, he joins us via the Miami Acura hotline. We are getting ready to talk some football, college, and NFL. And Ralph, let me ask you this, because it seems like through 6 weeks of the NFL season, I'm not sure the bookmakers have adapted to the high scoring that we're seeing in the NFL. It looks like the overs are hitting much more than the unders this year. Do you think the bookmakers have adjusted accordingly to the level of scoring that we're seeing thus far?
Well, I think there's a process the bookmakers take. And when you get numbers as high as they've been, historically high, or those times when they're historically low, the bookmakers never want to make them what the line should be. Remember, their job is to just make a line where they're going to get equal money on both sides. So although a total might be 57 or 58, the bookmaker's going to open it 53, 54, let the money push it up, and that way they're not held at a negative. So there's still enough sharp people that want to bet unders that Vegas isn't getting burned. So again, if there's that situation where a number that you feel should be higher, don't be afraid to play it. Because again, Vegas's job isn't to put a line where it should be. It's to put a line where they're getting equal money on both sides.
Yeah, overs are just about 55% so far this year in the NFL games through 6 weeks. And you're right, you got to understand exactly what their point of view is. But don't be afraid to go with the overs, Ralph. If you feel like, don't let the number scare you. If you feel like it's going to be over, then it's going to be over.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now I'm looking up totals of 53.5 and higher since the start of 2017 are 16, 16, and 2. So again, half have gone over, half have gone under. But this year, totals of 53.5 or higher have gone 7-2 to the over.
Wow.
So the only two games that have gone under were the Chiefs and the Broncos. That was a total of 53.5. That ended up 27-23. And the other under game was the Lions and the Patriots. That ended up 26-10 with a high total of 53.5. So again, they're out there. Vegas doesn't mind posting a number lower if they're getting equal money on both sides.
Yeah, amen to that. Ralph Michaels joining us, wagertalk.com, at Cal Sports LV. All right, let's dive in here, Ralph. We've got a college game tonight, something very interesting out in the Pac-12. We've got an Arizona State team, Herm Edwards, 3-3. And listen, his three losses have only been by, I think, 7 points in each one of them. And then, of course, Stanford, their title hopes have been dashed with just beatdowns with Notre Dame and Utah, but it is still a very valuable matchup here tonight. Arizona getting 2 at home. What do you think about tonight's matchup?
Well, if you're a casual, even if you're a casual football fan, and there's 130 teams in the FBS, if I said to you, this team in its last 3 games has allowed 31 points, 38 points, and 40 points, and the same team has only rushed for 71 yards, 55 yards, and 42 yards, it would probably take you 125 guesses to guess that's what the Stanford Cardinal have done. I mean, Stanford is a defensive-minded team that rushes the ball. We know that. Now, Bryce Love did miss last week. He'll be back. But, again, he's still not the same Bryce Love. He's only averaging 4.3 yards per carry. And with the Stanford defense allowing 400 yards per game on the stop side, Arizona State has been a very solid home dog. It's tough playing there at night. They play a lot of night games because of the weather early in the year, and it's just a difficult place to play. I like the home dog Sun Devils tonight.
Interesting. And, you know, there's one other game, too, and I know on your Twitter, at Cal Sports LV, you've been posting some stats about the Arkansas State-Georgia State game here, and it looks like, you know, this is another one of those pros versus Joes. We've got 46% of the bets so far coming in on Georgia State, but they're getting 61% of the money, which tells me that there's something going on here with Georgia State.
Well, people look at Arkansas State and say, hey, they're a 3-3 team. I'm not going to lay 14 points with them. Well, their losses were to Alabama, the number 1 team in the country, Appalachian State, who is number 3 in the country in yards per game diff. They have dominated their foes. And at Georgia Southern, the team I actually picked to win that division of the Sun Belt, to me, all those are very explainable. And you look at the Appalachian State, and people remember, what have you done for me lately? Well, last week they lost 35-9, but they only got outgained 390 to 336. They were minus 3 turnovers. So those turnovers change the way and the perception of a team. It's rare to say I think there's value with a 14-point home favorite, but I think there is tonight with the Red Wolves.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a fun night, certainly for football. It's a great night in sports in general. Ralph Michaels joining us, wagertalk.com. All right, some of the bigger games this week. We'll start with the SEC, of course. Mississippi State taking on LSU. LSU is at home. They're laying 6.5. I see this number going to 7 by the time kickoff comes around on Saturday night. But I got to tell you, LSU coming off the victory in Georgia, this could be one of those situations, recency bias, maybe the public just goes, wow, LSU, man, they're great again. But I don't know, Mississippi State seems very undervalued all year to me, especially on the defensive side of the ball. What do you see in LSU and Mississippi State?
Well, under Dan Mullen, everyone thought, they were an offensive team with a solid defense. This year, it's the opposite. They have one of the best defenses in the country. The problem with their offense, their last 3 games, Mississippi State has scored 7, 6, and 23 points. Now, the LSU team has burned me a few times. Every handicapper is going to have some teams that they maybe had rated higher or lower at the start of the year, and it cost them a couple games. I played against LSU at Auburn. They won that game outright. I thought Georgia had a very good chance to not only win that game last week, but cover. Boy, was I wrong. LSU used their home edge. They went for it 4 times on 4th down. They completed all of those, and it turned into a 36-16 blowout. But now the situation changes. Against Georgia, they were a dog. Against Auburn, they were a dog. Against Florida, they were a favorite or a dog. The line moved, but it was right around pick'em. Now they're a significant favorite with an offense that still is only averaging 4.6 yards per carry rushing and completing 53% of his passes. No way can I lay points with that type of team against one of the best defenses in the country. I think this will be a low-scoring game, and grabbing almost up to a touchdown is a bonus with Mississippi State.
Yeah, I see the public coming in late too, dropping a whole lot of money on LSU. I think that'll push the line up a little bit. But listen, it's a great situation for Mississippi State to be able to kind of put their stamp on the new era that they've got going on there. Ralph Michaels joining us, WagerTalk.com. One of the games that I've got circled and that I think is great, and I've been waiting for this moment, and that is North Carolina to finally get all the suspended players back. They had a kind of a letdown last week at Virginia Tech, but they played very well. They have everybody back, and it's not like Larry Fedora to give up in any way, shape, or form. They're getting 12 points on the road in Syracuse, and Syracuse, I love Dino Babers. They've been having a great year, but, man, their defense is it's a little suspect. Laying 12 points, I kind of like North Carolina in this situation. What are you thinking, Ralph?
You know, I would lean that way. I don't have a strong opinion either side, just because of North Carolina. North Carolina had that game won last week. They had a 522 to 375-yard edge. They did have all their players back. They were winning that game, you know, and they gave up that late score. They were up 9-7 at the half. They had a significant edge, and they played very well. I think by losing, that may hurt them this week. The one thing I do love, I agree with you with the Syracuse defense. The North Carolina defense, while improved, now has to go on the road, which is a different scenario. I actually like the over in this game. High total, but again, it's still a situation where I think if I had to play a side, it's open at 62.5. It's up to 66.5, so we lost a lot of the value. So again, not a play that I like, but this is if I had to pick one of the scenarios, I would still take the over 66.5.
It's staying with the ACC. You got NC State, North Carolina State taking on Clemson. You got NC State getting 17.5 in a lot of the books here. And to me, this number is just way too large for Clemson. And North Carolina State has played Clemson tough over the last couple of years, even at Clemson. They've got a upperclassman quarterback there, Ryan Finley. He's not going to get intimidated by the Tigers. He's been there and he's done this. Nothing about this game tells me Clemson's going to run away with it. Why such a high point total?
You don't even need me on the show. You just said everything I was going to say. You know, I agree with you. You look back 2 years ago at home. 2 years ago they lost in overtime. Last year they lost by 7 points. This is a team that's been there and done that. They are not intimidated by playing the Clemson Tigers. Ryan Finley with a 10-3 ratio, completing 70% of his passes. And this NC defense is very solid. You look at what Clemson has done and what Trevor Lawrence has faced. Furman, Georgia Southern, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Wake Forest. The A&M game was the only decent game against a top 40 defense. And in that A&M game, they had a couple big plays, but they only had 14 first downs, so they could not establish drives. Again, yards can be very misleading if you break off a couple 80-yard pass plays where a team just schemed the wrong way. But first downs, to me, are the true sign. Couple stats for NC State. NC State is 9-0 ATS as a dog of 14 or more. This coach, Dave Dorn, has his team ready to play as an underdog. It's a role they relish. And when they have rest like they do, they're off a bye. They're 15-1 against the spread as an ACC dog with rest. I think this could be a live underdog. I'll gladly grab the points. this is a game I do like very much.
Yeah, all right, there you go. Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com, at CalSportsLV on Twitter. One of the other games, too, that is very interesting is Washington, 8-1 against the spread in the last 9 against Colorado. They'll be hosting Colorado. Colorado's not going to – it doesn't look like they're going to have their star receiver there, Laviska Shenault. He's going to be out. Colorado's getting 17. Can Colorado, without him, make this a game at all, or are we looking at a blowout and possibly an under number here?
Well, I do, again, it's not a strong play for me, but the situation's very difficult for Colorado. Last week, they played the respect card, and their entire game was based on, listen, we're ranked, we're getting a touchdown, USC is a horrible home favorite, we're going to go in there and we're going to win this game, and we're going to prove to the world that we deserve to be a ranked team. Well, what happened? They gained 265 yards. They had 2.6 yards per carry, and they lost the game 31-20. And it was worse than that. They scored the last 2 touchdowns, I believe, to make the game close. It was 21-7 at halftime. Washington, now you get a fired-up Washington. You want to talk about a game they gave away. They were off a second straight road game. They went to Oregon. They lost that game in the last second, a game that they could have won 30-27. So you have a fired-up Washington team back at home against the Colorado that had a bubble burst game, now having to play a second straight game after facing a physical USC defense, facing another physical defense this week. I think the Huskies pull away.
Yeah, that's I do too. Ralph Michaels joining us, and I guess the big question for UT fans, I got a lot of these comments too. Is it, can they keep it within 4 touchdowns in Alabama, even if Jalen Hurts is playing the entire second half? Is it possible, or are we looking at another blowout and possibly a letdown for Tennessee fans?
Well, here's a stat for you: if you play Alabama in the first half of every game this year, and you play against Alabama in the second half, you're 13-1 against the spread.
Wow.
Alabama wants to prove who they are in the first half. They get the big lead, and Nick Saban just pulls off the reins, and he doesn't care about it. This is a situation where Tennessee obviously is off that huge upset win. They have some momentum. They have a team where they can rush the ball at least decently. Chandler is good at 5.3 yards per carry. At Auburn last week and at Georgia, they only gained 66 yards, but you're talking 2 top 10 defenses on the road. Back at home, they have the fans. They're off that win. They finally believe they're making steps in the right direction in Jeremy Pruitt's first season, and I do think they can keep it close.
There you go, Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV joining us. Shifting over to the NFL tonight, Arizona taking on Denver. Denver, not very good, let's face it here. We've got a head coach who a lot of people think is on the extremely hot seat, taking on an Arizona team who, unfortunately for Josh Rosen, he's buried in Arizona. Fortunately for Josh Rosen, he's buried in Arizona, so the national media is not spending all that much time talking about him. But I got to tell you, Ralph, he's been pretty solid in each one of his outings, getting better and better and better. They a back-end, a victory against the spread last week against Minnesota. But do you like him tonight, getting a 1.5 at home against the Denver Broncos, or is Denver going to flip a switch all of a sudden?
Well, how about if I just want to play against both teams? You look at Arizona, and I can't remember a team, I've been handicapping a long time, that after 6 weeks in the NFL, their best performance was 269 yards. That's unheard of. They're averaging 221 yards on offense per game, and they're averaging 13 first downs per game, and in 4 of the 6 games they played, they've had 14 first downs or less. That is a historically bad offense, and which is incredible because you have Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald and David Johnson, and granted, the offense was even worse with Bradford, but Rosen's now trying to go through the problem of learning to play with these guys. But I look at Denver, and I see this, a team that's lost 4 straight. Yes, they won the first couple of games. They're 1-9 ATS and straight up on the road under Vance Joseph. They play differently. They're just a bad road team. This total is very low for an NFL total, like we've talked about in this new modern era of passing, only 42. But I think this total should be 37 or 38. I think there's significant value on the under in this game with these teams playing each other.
Wow. All right. That means not a whole lot of scoring here tonight. If you like punts, this is probably definitely going to be the game for you. One of the other games, too, that jumped off the board, Chicago taking on New England. Now, Chicago historically pretty damn good at home as an underdog, which is where they find themselves this weekend against the Patriots. 3.5 points right now. The Patriots are favored, but can we be realistic? The Patriots are not the same team on the road that they are at home, are they?
Well, Joe, 8-1-1 is that ATS number for the Chicago Bears as a home dog. So you are clearly correct that they thrive in that role. You know, they normally have that lake effect wind, and, you know, it's a little different mentality going into Soldier Field and playing. And yes, New England offense has looked good, but they've played Miami, Indianapolis, and Kansas City, 3 of the worst defenses. They're off a 3-game home stretch, which is a significant scheduling edge. And it's a remember what have you done for me lately? Everyone knows this New England offense and what they've done. At Jacksonville, let's remember what happened. 31-20 loss. At Detroit, what happened? A 26-10 loss. And I'm a big... In college football, you can't use stats to compare teams because there's 130 teams, and from top to bottom, Alabama's probably 60 points better than the worst team. But in the NFL, you can use those stats because from top to bottom, you maybe only have a 2-touchdown difference. Well, when I look at yards per game diff, and I'm a big fan of that because it shows you what teams do on both offense and defense. Chicago is a top 10 team. They're plus yards per game on the side, plus 22 yards per game. That's number 10 in the NFL. New England is only plus 1 yard per game on the season, despite being 4-2. That's number 17. And then you look at the New England defense. You know, you look at what they've allowed. 40 points to Kansas City, 24 points to Indianapolis, 20 to Houston, 31 to Jacksonville, 26 to Detroit. I like Trubisky in this offense. I think they're greatly improved. Cohen has given them a little boost at running back at 5.3 yards per carry. I think they get this done, and I think the wrong team is favored in this game. Bears win outright.
WagerTalk.com's Ralph Michaels joining us. My team, the New York Jets, coming off a great victory over a hospital ward that is known as the Indianapolis Colts. However, they ended up getting the job done. We're seeing the progression of Sam Darnold at quarterback. Now they are hosting a Vikings team that, listen, if there's one team this year that's living off of the past, it might be the Vikings. And the public is looking at the Jets and they go, oh, it's the Jets. It's still the same old Jets. But is it the same old Jets? And are we overvaluing what the Minnesota Vikings are this year?
Well, you know, the Jets are 3-3. But again, I'm going to look at stats. That 3-3 record, they're minus 5 first downs per game. That is huge for a team being 3-3. Obviously, you should be about even. So being minus 5 first downs, that means in 6 games, you're minus 30 first downs on the season. You look at what Minnesota's done. They're plus 1 first down. They're plus 31 yards a game. There's a 72-yard per game difference between the Vikings being on the plus side and the Jets being on the negative side. While the Vikings defense isn't what they're accustomed to being, you know, you do have to look, and they played Philadelphia, a good offense. They played the Rams and gave up 556 yards, and they gave up 351 yards to Green Bay. So they played a very tough road schedule. I think off couple wins now, you're starting to see Kirk Cousins be the quarterback he needs to be. He's completing 71% with a 12-3 ratio. And, you know, Vikings are going to get some pressure. They have 18 sacks. The Jets have done well the last couple weeks against Denver and Indy, only giving up 3 sacks total. But I got to believe the Vikings are going to get pressure. And even though I'm a handicapper and follow this, and normally I don't have a belief, well, it's just the Jets and it's Minnesota, and this line looks so good, I think it's Minnesota and it's the Jets, and this line looks this good.
It is. That's it. Let's not overthink it. I love it. Ralph Michaels joining us. How about the Monday night game? Giants at the Atlanta Falcons. Giants on the road. Falcons still have no defense. We're looking at it over at 54.5. Should that be only thing we're looking at in this game is the over, since there's probably a good chance Atlanta at home and these two defenses aren't going to be able to stop anybody?
Yeah, again, you basically said what I would. I can't take Atlanta with a horrific defense as a favorite. I am clearly not an Eli Manning fan. Granted, he's got great skill players. I mean, you look at Beckham and Sterling Shepard, and you had Saquon Barkley, and I think if the Giants had any other quarterback there, that they could be a team that would be reckoned with. Instead, they're 1-5. You're off losses. You're off a heartbreaking loss to Philadelphia. You had the yardage edge in that game. You lost the turnovers. The thing about Eli Manning is he has a 6-5 ratio, and the Jets have played 6 games this year. They've been minus turnovers in 5 of those 6 games. The only game they won at Houston, they were +2 turnovers. So whoever wins the turnover battle in this game, when you have the Giants involved, is usually going to win the game. Well, Atlanta is +4, but again, with that defense that's allowing 418 yards per game, and more importantly, when I look at first downs, 27 first downs allowed per game for the Falcons, I can't back them. I'm not going to back the Giants as a small dog. Therefore, I will look to the over. With 56, I think there's value the way Atlanta's defense is playing. Not many defenses in football over the last 10 years allow over 5 yards per carry. The Falcons allowing 5.1, and over 70% completions. They're allowing 70.4 on the year.
Better chance, one last one before we let you go here, Ralph. Better underdog shot at covering, if not winning outright. The 49ers at the Rams covering 10, or the Buffalo Bills getting 7.5 against Indianapolis?
You would think Buffalo is the better situation, but to me, it's San Francisco. Everyone talked about Garoppolo being out. Well, this offense has actually been much better under C.J. Beathard. Beathard has put up much better numbers than Garoppolo ever has. Last week before the Green Bay game, which we saw him take them to the wire, and they could have won at Green Bay, they lost to Arizona 28-18. But they were -5 turnovers. That's like historic type level being -5. They had a 447 to 220 yard edge. And while the Rams are clearly the best team in football, there is not a question in anyone's mind. One of the best offenses, one of the best defenses, one of the best offense-defensive combinations we've seen in decades. It's a very tough, difficult situation. They went to Seattle, went to the wire, went to Greene, went to Denver, got backdoored. Now you're playing a third straight road game. They're the first team. My database only goes back to 1980, so 38 years. No team has ever played 3 straight road games and been an away favorite of over 8 or more points like the Rams are. Because of the Rams playing a third straight road game off that Seattle game and off the altitude of Denver, I would give the San Francisco 49ers a shot. It's not going to be a play of mine, but giving me those two situations, I will back the 49ers.
Great stuff. That's why we love him. Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. Make sure you guys follow him at Cal Sports LV. Some great information all week long. Ralph, once again, thank you so very much for stopping by. Enjoy the games. Good luck this week. We'll talk again next Thursday.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, Ralph Michaels, there you go, at Cal Sports LV. We love when Ralph comes on the show, man. Always some great stuff there. And don't worry, if you missed what he had said early on in the show, you can always catch it up right here. That's what the best part about streaming is that if you missed anything, it's going to be available to you as soon as we are done here. But we are not done making you money yet. Now that we talked about the overs, the unders, the spreads, the games, it's now time to talk a little fantasy. And there's nobody better to talk fantasy football than with our good friend Matt Latufsky, sportingnews.com. He is their fantasy guru god, and he joins us via the Miami Acura hotline. And Matt, thanks for taking a few minutes out, man. How'd you do last week?
Last week, made a couple mistakes, but you know what? We don't live in the past. We move forward. We don't worry about picking up the indie defense and liking them against the rookie and then them giving up 38 points or whatever. So.
Well, let's do this here, Matt, because we've gotten a lot of questions this week because of the bye weeks now. There's a lot of people finding themselves shorthanded. So let's head to the waiver wire right now, and let's talk about the running back position, especially for those that may have had Devonta Freeman but didn't handcuff him with Coleman, and people that are in need of some running back help. Are there a couple of names maybe not really owned, but you know what? They're probably available on the waiver wire that maybe you should be looking at?
Well, the big one's down in your neck of the woods. I guess it's age. I don't know what it is, but no matter what Frank Gore does, he keeps leading the team of carries. He pops for 100 yards against the Bears. He's got a phenomenal matchup this week against the Lions. No one wants to pick this guy up. He's still available in 76% of Yahoo leagues, which is insane to me. So Frank Gore, he's their lead back right now. He is. I know people. Kenyon Drake's fine too. He's playing more and doing pretty well. But the goal line fumble last week. I really like Gore this week. I think it's a good situation for him. A couple other guys, Peyton Barber, kind of back from the dead. Everyone thought Ronald Jones was going to take over after the bye. Hasn't. And Peyton Barber has a big game and a nice matchup this week against the Browns. Marlon Mack comes back. Fantasy owners, I think, he's only been in the league, a year and a half. Fantasy owners are already done hearing about Marlon Mack. But as long as he's healthy, he's going to be their lead back. And he's worth picking up. And then another guy in Atlanta. You talk about Devonta Freeman going down. It was actually Ito Smith who led the team in carries last week, not Tevin Coleman. And Ito Smith scored in 3 straight games. And I like them Monday night with the Giants on tap, too.
Matt Latowski joining us, sportingnews.com, fantasy guru. You guys know the number, 855-983-2255. Start 'em, sit 'em questions. If you want to ask him a question, now would be the time to do it. Wide receivers now. One guy that I think is a little underrated and I think is now poised to kind of really get it rolling, not only this week but moving forward, is Jermaine Kearse with the New York Jets. Is he worth a pickup here? Do you think this is a guy now that might have a pretty good next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think it might depend on Quincy Enunwa's injury. If he's out, we know Enunwa was the guy who was getting all the targets early. Now Kearse has stepped up the last couple of weeks. Darnold seems to like him. So, yeah, he's severely under-owned for sure. They got to throw to someone. Another guy, we just got news, Ted Ginn going on IR. The Monday night hero a couple weeks ago, Traquan Smith, all of a sudden his outlook looks a lot better going forward, and he's worth, to me, grabbing, going, getting right away now that there's a starting spot open in New Orleans for sure, and even Cameron Meredith might step up too there and is real interesting. And the guy back-to-back 100-yard games playing pretty well in Chicago, Taylor Gabriel. We know from Matt Nagy's time in Kansas City, he loves those speedy gadget players, and he's got 2 of them in Chicago with Tariq Cohen and Taylor Gabriel that he's making full use of right now. So I think he's another interesting guy to have. And, could be boom or bust. Those speed guys tend to be, but I do like him, and I like him this week against the Patriots.
And I got to tell you also, Matt Latowski, sportingnews.com, joining us. There's a need for some quarterback space here this week, especially with one of your guys is actually on a bye. And I've gotten this question all week, Matt. What do we do with Brock Osweiler at home after that performance? Do people want to know, is it worth a risk? Is there a possibility he could actually go back-to-back with this kind of performance? After all, Ryan Fitzpatrick did it early on in the year. Is Brock Osweiler worth picking up if you need a quarterback?
You asked me what to do with that situation. I say play the Lions defense is what you do. Because, look, he kind of shocked the world last week, right? Comes out against the Bears of all teams. They still turned it over 3 times. But he goes out there, throws for yards, they win the game, put up 31 points. I don't see it 2 weeks in a row. To me, if anything's happening in that game, it's the Dolphins running all over the Lions. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Brock Osweiler passing the ball, putting up big numbers. Lions have gotten their pass rush going the past couple weeks before the bye. They should be healthier and rested. So, yeah, that situation to me, stay away from the quarterback standpoint. But if you're looking for that guy this week, there's 3 that really stand out. One's Baker Mayfield, which I worry about, rookie on the road, but just that matchup against Tampa's too good. There's Joe Flacco at home against the Saints, their first home game since week 3. I like that sort of angle on why I like the Ravens this week kind of in general, but certainly him. Willie Snead revenge game. Love those. Those are made-up angles, too. Fantasy owners like the site. And if you really got a pair, you really want to go for it, man, Eli Manning against the Falcons, because that team giving up 3 touchdown passes every week since week 1. And Eli Manning, you say what you will about Eli Manning, but he's got big play guys who can do a lot with a little. He doesn't have to do much against a defense like the Falcons, and with Evan Ingram coming back helps in the red zone too. So I don't know if anyone's got the guts to play Eli Manning, but I think we're going to be watching Monday night. We're going to watch him put up some stats.
What about Sam Darnold in that situation? I know he's available in a whole bunch of leagues. Not a lot of guys have him, but you think Sam Darnold against a very overrated Minnesota Vikings defense at home has the progression been enough that you would take a flyer on Sam Darnold against that Minnesota team?
Yeah, I don't think you need to against Minnesota. I think you're right. They are a little bit overrated for sure. I would agree with that. But at the same time, I don't think that's necessarily a favorable matchup. And if you look back at last week, I'm lamenting the Colts getting numbers put on them by the Jets. But you look back at that game, I mean, every single Jets drive started on, the Colts' 40-yard line. It was crazy, all the turnovers. They didn't have to do much to get those points. Yeah, I don't mind kind of Darnold in general. I just think, all those guys I mentioned, I think are widely available, and Flacco's been gobbled up here a little bit, but those other guys are all available in well over half of Yahoo leagues, and I just like their matchups better, even though, Eli's on the road, Mayfield's on the road. Those defenses they're facing are so bad that I would expect them to be able to do something.
Matt Latusky, SportingNews.com, fantasy expert, joining us via the Miami Acura hotline, 855-983-2255. Let me ask you, Matt, you mentioned defenses, some kind of plug-and-play opportunities this weekend in the defense. I know a lot of guys, that's what they do. They go week by week. They kind of rotate it. One of the teams that stands out to me is playing tonight. The Broncos going up against, not a great offense in Arizona. How do you like the Denver Broncos, and what defenses might be a good plug and play this week?
Yeah, I mean the Broncos still have fair amount of ownership just because there's a lot of name brand there. But you look at it, they've given up 200-yard rushers, right? TWO 100-yard rushers in back-to-back weeks. That's not something you see that often. And, it's a road Thursday game. Typically the home defense plays better. But I do think the Broncos are in play for sure against the rookie QB. But I really like the Cardinals. Talk about a team on a roll. 2 straight weeks posting monster numbers. You get the home Thursday game. Case Keenum's thrown a pick in every game this year. Denver's yet to lose a fumble this year, which is a very fluky stat that it seems like they're due any time now to start losing fumbles. I do think they can run all over Arizona, too. So that's my only minor worry. But I like both those defenses. A couple others I like. I already mentioned Detroit. I like them coming off the bye against Osweiler. And I really like both defenses in that Indy-Buffalo game. Not only do you got Indy at home, I'm going back to the well with them. You got them at home against Derek Anderson, which I really like. They have a good pass rush. And then you got Buffalo against Indy. Indy, multiple turnovers in every single game but one. Buffalo, multiple takeaways in every single game but one. It's just all the numbers converging at once. And I think both those defenses can have good fantasy days.
Waiver wire, we're talking Matt Latusky, SportingNews.com. The waiver wire tight end position, too. There was a name that stuck out to me, and I guess because he was injured and a lot of people didn't understand it, that seemed to be available in an awful lot of leagues, and that was Jack Doyle, who we all know, we know how much Andrew Luck loves his tight ends, but I saw his name, and I see Ricky Seals-Jones out there a lot, his availability. He's going tonight against that Broncos defense, who hasn't done great against tight ends. What do you like on the waiver wire for the tight end position?
Yeah, I mean, Seals-Jones is a guy. There's 2 guys who seem to have good matchups every single week. We're already looking ahead to Week 8. We got both those guys in there again, regardless of what they do this week. And that's Seals-Jones, and with the Bengals, C.J. Uzomah, who's kind of the only game in town there. And both those guys, fantastic matchups. Uzomah going against the Chiefs. They've been terrible against tight ends. Seals-Jones, you already mentioned, going against the Broncos, who really struggle against tight ends. They get decent targets. That's half the battle with tight ends. You're hoping for a touchdown when you're picking guys up off the waiver wire. But I do think both of those guys are pretty good. A couple other names I'd like. James O'Shaughnessy, he's kind of hurt now, so maybe not. But with now Paul hurt, Austin Seferian-Jenkins hurt with the Jaguars, pretty favorable matchup against the Texans. He's one to watch if he's going to be active. That's kind of what you're looking at. It's pretty rough. There's not a lot of guys. I think Gerald Everett for the Rams could be a little bit interesting this week with Cooper Kupp out. Niners are terrible against tight ends. Everett's a pretty athletic guy. He might soak up a couple extra targets, maybe be a red zone threat too for them. We know anytime you're betting on an offense, you want to go with the very best one. It's either the Rams or the Chiefs. Obviously, the Chiefs tight ends owned everywhere. So maybe you can get something out of Everett. But a little bit of a slim week for those waiver wire pickup tight ends. And, hopefully whoever you have can get the job done. The position's getting healthier with the Wilson back, Evan Ingram coming back. That's a plus anyway.
Yeah, and I saw O.J. Howard available in a whole bunch of situations too, which surprises me. But he's been battling injuries, and Cameron Brate's been getting some snaps. But Jameis is back, and if O.J. Howard's available, it's not a bad pickup either.
Oh, absolutely. He was. I think because of the injury, he was supposed to be out longer. A lot of people dropped him. Coming into last week, he was available in like 52% of Yahoo leagues. He's been snatched up now after waivers have cleared in a bunch. I think his ownership was up to 77. So definitely a good guy to have. Brate's real interesting in the sense that he only had one target last week, but it was a touchdown catch. I do worry about him. We all love this Jameis to Brate connection that seems to exist, but at the same time, it's tough to ignore the fact that Howard just seems to be better in overtaking Brate.
Amen.
So I'm sort of off the Brate train. After last week. He got his third touchdown in a row. One target though, I'm out. He might get another one, but it's not something you can count on.
I love it. Matt Latusky, sportingnews.com, joining us via the Miami Acura hotline. All right, the questions have come in here. Let me ask you, and this is, a lot of people are doing this, including myself because I own them, but we've got Drew Brees in a matchup that a lot of people are worried about starting him this week. Is Drew Brees worth the risk going up against a massive defense like the Baltimore Ravens, who haven't given up more than, I think, one touchdown in the second half all year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, anytime you're doing these, it comes down to who the other choice is. I mean, I think in a vacuum, Brees is right on that bubble. Probably worth starting, but then you go, okay, well, Brees or Stafford. Stafford, a statistically tough matchup. I'm taking Brees, but then you might say, some of these other guys, I mentioned some of those quarterbacks before, Brees or Flacco, it's tough. I still feel you got to take Brees just because of the names. You'll feel real dumb if you bench Drew Brees for Joe Flacco and Flacco has a bad game and vice versa. So it's really tough. But then if you say Brees or Deshaun Watson, I'm taking Brees. I don't like Watson against the Jaguars. So that's what it comes in. But then if you say Brees or Andy Dalton, I'm taking Andy Dalton against the Chiefs. So
I got
that
one
one's
for
a
you.
real tough one.
Yeah, I got one for you. It's coming in. Is it Drew Brees or C.J. Beathard?
Yeah, well, that one's Drew Brees. Like, that's just one of those moves where, you know what, if C.J. Beathard outscores Drew Brees, God bless him. But I don't want to be the guy who benches Drew Brees for C.J. Beathard regardless of matchups. Unless the 49ers are playing like a college team or like a scrimmage or something, I don't want to take that chance. Even though, quite frankly, Beathard's been serviceable. Playing the Rams, there's garbage time opportunities this week, but I just wouldn't want to make that move.
We've got actually a couple of questions about the touches for Alvin Kamara now that he's obviously with Ingram. He's been sharing some touches there. A lot of people who own Alvin Kamara are a little bit worried about, certainly in the PPR situation, a little bit worried about him losing touches, possible touchdowns over to here. What are your feelings about Alvin Kamara? He's kind of a must start regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the last game was weird, but it makes sense when you look back on it, and it's like he was getting really worked those first 4 weeks. They were just relying on him so much, and he got so many touches, and then you look at week 5, Ingram's back, obviously as fresh as he's going to be all year. They got a bye coming up. You know what? Let's take it easy with this guy. We got another, Pro Bowl caliber back we can feed. We're just fine. This is Drew Brees' night anyway. He's going to get his little laminated certificate for breaking the record. So, yeah, they held him back. And I think now we're going to go forward. We're going to see more of an even split. I actually think Kamara will be ahead of Ingram a little bit going forward. He's just too talented not to be. So I'm not worried about him at all.
We've got a flex question here. Flex, he needs one out of the three here. Kerryon Johnson, Adrian Peterson, or Galladay for Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. Those guys are pretty similar. You look at the stats, and the Dolphins really struggle against running backs. I do like Adrian Peterson just in the sense that the volume is going to be there for him, but I don't like the matchup. I would actually play Kerryon Johnson. Hope he gets enough touches that he can expose that bad defense. A little more safety with Adrian Peterson. It kind of comes down to what are you looking for, the higher floor, the higher ceiling. But I like Kerryon this week. I think, rested coming out of the bye, he can have a good day.
We got a question for tonight. David Johnson or James White, who's going to be going up against a pretty good Bears defense on the road?
Yeah, I mean, both good. White's been pretty automatic this year, but, David Johnson, as disappointing as he's been relative to draft position, has been fine. Like, he scored almost every week. We know what kind of upside he has. And I mentioned earlier, Isaiah Crowell, 200-plus yards 2 weeks ago, and Bilal Powell went for 99 that same game. Last week, Todd Gurley absolutely shredding the Broncos, 200-plus yards. I think you got to have Johnson in your lineup.
We've got wide receiver Tyler Boyd, Jarvis Landry, or Golden Tate.
Man, that's tough. If you only got to take one of those guys, that must be studs otherwise, because they're all worth playing, by themselves. If I'm picking, I really like Landry as a bounce back this week against the Bucs, but if I got to pick one of those guys, I'm picking Boyd. I just think he's been so good, and the Chiefs, obviously, we know their problems defensively against wide receivers. I think the Bengals are going to have to throw to keep up there on the road. So I like Boyd there. Tough to sit Tate ever because he's pretty steady, but Boyd, I think, just has the higher ceiling.
Yeah, we've got also Nelson Aguilar, Taylor Gabriel, or Michael Crabtree.
I like Crabtree this week. He got going a little bit last week. The targets are still there. And the Saints, they allow the most fantasy points to wide receivers. This feels like a game where John Brown's going to catch a long one, Willie Snead's going to have a good game, and Michael Crabtree could have a good game. I really like the Ravens passing game this week.
Also need, this wide receiver, Devin Funchess, Keelan Cole, or Albert Wilson. Can he repeat what he did last week?
Yeah, that's always tough, right? Guy, he's a big play guy. He's a boomer bust. I think he's just going to be, 1 week on, couple weeks off, et cetera, et cetera. With Funchess, he's kind of the guy I like there. Even though Olsen's back, I think Funchess is going to get his targets. The Eagles allow a lot of receptions. It's kind of a weird thing where they have a good defense, but the corners are a little bit vulnerable. Same with the Bears. Good defense, corners are a little vulnerable, and a good offense will find a way to get those, exploit that and move the ball still. So I do think the Panthers can move the ball decently enough. I think Funchess will be a part of that.
Flex, Marlon Mack, Calvin Ridley, or Sterling Shepard?
I don't think you're going to be able to hold out for Ridley. However, the fact that there's two guys in that game on Monday night means you can wait for Ridley if he plays. Great. Just put him in your lineup. If he doesn't play Shepard, a fantastic matchup for Shepard. He's the guy I'm most worried about for the Giants. I think Ingram's red zone guy. I think Beckham's sort of a catch a slant, go 60 yards guy. We know what Barkley can do. I do always worry about Eli on the road in the dome getting the ball to Sterling Shepard, at least in an intermediate route. But that's what I would do. I would hold out, see what happens. If Ridley's active, put him in the lineup.
Got a lot of people worried about the whole Greg Olsen thing. Yes, he's back, but, is he worth starting over somebody like, let's say, a Trey Burton and a Austin Hooper is what we're getting?
Yeah, those are tough calls. Olsen didn't look great. I still think the injury is a worry, but he did get 7 targets last week, which is pretty good. Hooper's playing great. But he's had good matchups, and he exploited them. Does he do it against the Giants, which is more of a mediocre matchup? I don't know. Burton's really been touchdown or bust. It's kind of been surprising. His athleticism hasn't been used more in other parts of the field. But you look at Olsen, like I said, with the injury, still a little slow, facing a phenomenal defense. I'm pretty sure the Eagles are allowing the least fantasy points of the position. So I would probably bench him in both those cases. I like those other two guys what they bring to the table, the way they're a part of their team's offense.
All right, and Matt Lutusky, sportingnews.com. Go ahead, give us that sleeper, man. You've been good with these. Tell us exactly who it is that you maybe people aren't looking at, but you know what? Might just break out and have a monster weekend. Who you like?
Who do I like? That's always a tough question. I mean, I don't know if Willie Snead is too easy since he had 10 targets, but he hasn't caught a touchdown since week 1. He hasn't topped 60 receiving yards all season, and I love that. I have no idea if he had bad blood with the Saints, but in my head he did. So now that he's on the Ravens, and he's just had a birthday, there's just narratives lining up for Willie Snead to go off this week. So I do like him, and you know what? I say this guy every week somewhere, and then Antonio Callaway's dude just break out. He's open in the end zone every week, and his quarterback can't get him the ball. So this week against the Bucs, I think Baker Mayfield gets him the ball, and we finally see he makes good on those 10 targets. He had 10 targets last week, 9 yards. I don't know how that happened. But anyway,
It could be a monster. It could be a monster week for actually both of those guys. I think it's also worth noting he came across. I believe Ted Ginn Jr. has now been placed on IR, which puts the New Orleans Saints. I mean, it's one less. It's one less pair of hands there, one less person they got to feed over there. So that's worth keeping an eye on too. I don't know who would be backing up Ted Ginn Jr. I mean, it's Michael Thomas is Michael Thomas, but who else do they have on the Saints in the wide receiving core that would be able to fill in the gap for a Ted Ginn Jr.?
Yeah, I mean, Traquan Smith, who had the big Monday night 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah, he'd be the guy. He's worth picking up. And then Cameron, maybe Cameron Meredith, too. He started getting more targets last week or 2 weeks ago. Both those guys are very interesting. But Traquan Smith, man, talk about a guy who looks the part, 6'2", 205, fast as anyone. That's the guy that's very, very interesting going forward, and he's unowned in the vast majority of fantasy leagues. So very interesting potential pickup there.
Go out and get him, that's for sure. All right, make sure you guys follow Matt Lutusky, sportingnews.com, and Lutusky. It's there on the screen. Some great, each and every week, great fantasy advice. Make sure you guys follow him. And Matt, as always, my friend, pleasure talking to you. Thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you again next week. Good luck.
All right, you too.
You got it. All right, Matt Lutusky, sportingnews.com. Want to thank him very much for stopping by. And the information and knowledge train continues to roll here on the Joe Raineri Show, brought to you by wagertalk.com. Make sure you guys head over to wagertalk.com if you haven't done so. Knowledge is power, people, and there is no better knowledge than what you can get at wagertalk.com. Free knowledge, and you've got access to over a dozen of the country's best professional sports handicappers, like Ralph Michaels, who joined us a little earlier on the show. And if you didn't get a chance to see the interview, don't worry about it. Best part about the live streaming aspect here is that as soon as we're done, you'll be able, it's posted here across all the platforms, Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, Facebook Live. We're broadcasting on all of those platforms, and you'll have access to the interview as soon as we are done here. But Ralph had some really interesting things to say about not only tonight's NFL game between the Cardinals and the Broncos, but also both of the college football games. So you're definitely going to want to hear that. Make sure that you guys check it out. And also, don't forget, hit us up here on social media if you like what you're seeing. If you're joining us on Twitch and YouTube and Twitter and Periscope, we'd appreciate the follow and the subscription if you can on YouTube. And, like us here on Twitter and on Facebook and share it with your friends. That's how it works here on social media. So if you like what you're seeing, the thumbs up would be great. The subscriptions, the retweets, the likes, all of it is always much appreciated, and we thank you guys very much for making us a part of your day. Also, the phone number 855-WTF-2255 is how you reach us. That's 855-983-2255. That is how you get in touch with us. Your thoughts, your comments, always welcomed here on the show. And we are not done with the football knowledge, because we're going to talk to one of the very best from fansided.com. Matt Verdame is going to join us. We're going to talk a little NFL, some of the storylines, the Brock Osweiler, the Brock October. Brocktober is now taking over. We've got some backup quarterbacks. this weekend in the NFL. We've got one NFL franchise who may be regretting the move that they've made. We'll talk to him about that, plus some of the other headlines across the league. Matt Verdeman, you're not going to want to miss that. Coming up, fansided.com in just about 2.5 minutes. But first, we got to thank one of our sponsors here, that being Miami Acura. And if you guys are in the market for a new car, might I recommend the brand new, all-new 2019 RDX. When I tell you completely redesigned, the damn car drives itself. All the bells, all the whistles, every gadget loaded. These are the 2019 RDX. And maybe the best part about it are the prices, because the prices right now are just unbelievably low. The deals, they want to move as many of these as possible before the end of the year. So this is the time for you to go get them. For those of you in the 305 South Dixie Highway, outside of the 305, simply call them, set up an appointment, 855-564-4669. That's 855-564-4669. I'm telling you guys, nothing like it. Our good friends over at Miami Acura, they are pushing cars, people. The all-new 2019 RDX. That's where you want to go. Don't go anywhere. 2 minutes. We're going to have Matt Verdeman from fansided.com. It's all about knowledge, people. He's going to drop a whole lot of knowledge about the NFL on you. We're going to do that coming up in just a minute. But first, we just got to take a few minutes out to thank our sponsors. Also, low-cost airlines, Superior Cruise and Travel. And already you know about Miami Acura. But we love these guys. They support us, and we hope that you will support them. Don't go anywhere. Matt Verdeman, fansided.com. He's going to join us in 2 minutes.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Why? Because you can save 45% on packages compared to your high-priced cable bill. Wow. Take those giant scissors out and cut the cable and save with Dish TV. Plus, you get a free DVR upgrade to record your favorite shows and free installation. And with Dish Anywhere, you can watch TV for free on your mobile device. Act fast. You can save hundreds of dollars. Does your cable company do that for you? I don't think so. Get all the best TV programming at your fingertips at a fraction of the price of cable TV. So say adios, arrivederci, goodbye to the high cable bill and save up to 45% on Dish TV packages today. These are limited time offers and can change at any time. Call fast. 800-293-0328. 800-293-0328. 800-293-0328. That's 800-293-0328.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
800-764-9168. 800-764-9168. 800-764-9168. That's 800-764-9168.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-761-1427. 800-761-1427. 800-761-1427. That's 800-761-1427.
Get ready to talk sports. It's the Say It With Me podcast. Now, here's your host, Joe Raineri.
All right, guys, so we're excited. We love talking NFL, and it's been one hell of a season so far, 6 weeks in the books, and when it comes to quarterbacks, a bit head-scratching. Real exciting in some cities, certainly with some rookie quarterbacks doing good things, but now here we go, entering the backup mode, and I wanted to talk some quarterbacks and some NFL, so I reached out to our good friends over at Fansided, and we're talking to Matt Verderame, and I did not butcher it. I nailed that, Matt. Matt Verderame, fansided.com. Make sure you guys check him out. Make sure you also follow him at Matt Verderame on Twitter. And, Matt, thanks for taking a couple of minutes out and hanging out with us, man.
No problem. Anytime. Happy to be on.
Oh, good. I didn't butcher it, though, right? I did nail that, Verderame?
You did. It was perfect.
Damn, that's why they pay me no money. All right, so here's the deal, Matt. Let's talk, because you got some great pieces up on fansided.com talking first and foremost about Patrick Mahomes. And it really is kind of unprecedented how absurdly good he is at this point. But is he so good that we could be talking about MVP? Should we be talking even those three letters with this guy at this point?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I definitely think he should be in the conversation. I think he should be a favorite alongside Drew Brees. Right now, the Chiefs have the worst defense in football by yardage. They're on pace to be the worst defense by yardage in NFL history. They give up over 500 yards a game, and they're 5-1. And they're 5-1 because of Mahomes. And sure, he's got a great cast of characters around him. He's got a terrific offensive-minded head coach. But Mahomes has made that engine go. This is a team that is having a generational season offensively. And you look at Mahomes, over 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, only 4 picks. He's rushed for a couple of touchdowns. I mean, he's on pace to really have a Dan Marino-like 1984 season when Marino was a second-year guy, first-year starter, and he came in, he dominated the league. Of course, Dolphins went to the Super Bowl that year. Very much what you're looking at with Mahomes. It's been an incredible season. And I think, yeah, absolutely. He deserves to be in that conversation.
I think we also have to take into consideration, too, though, it's first full year right now of starting in the NFL. He is with the right guy in Andy Reid. We know that. Coaching is so important in the NFL, not so much in the NBA because it's all about stars. But in the NFL, we all know how important coaching is. He's with the right guy, but we also got to realize that now they've got 6 weeks of film on him, this being the defensive coaches now moving forward. So do you think that we might start to see a different Patrick Mahomes moving forward now that 6 weeks of film is in the hands of these D coordinators?
I think you're going to see a little bit of a cat and mouse game, but I thought really Sunday night against New England summed up quite a bit of what to expect. He comes out early in the game. New England brought a lot of pressures. They mixed it up. He threw a couple of picks. He didn't play well in the first half, but he figured it out at halftime. And in the second half of the game, he went berserk, threw 4 touchdowns. The Chiefs scored 31 points. It was very similar, really, to the Denver game a few weeks prior on Monday night, where he ended up coming back successfully and winning that game. Look, I think teams can limit certain things with the Chiefs, but they are so high-powered offensively. I think it's just a matter of when, not if, that they're going to score. They play the Bengals on a Sunday night, and you look at that game and say, can Cincinnati hold them? Probably not. There's not too many teams in the league who are going to be able to slow them down. I think Belichick's the best defensive mind in football. The Chiefs didn't play well in the first half, and they scored 40. So I think overall, Mahomes is probably going to continue to put up these numbers, and it's just going to be a question of can teams force the right turnover at the right time.
Yeah, well, and we know Bob Sutton been around doing this a long time. He's going to get some of those horses back. He's going to get a little healthier. Some of those superstars on the defensive side of the ball for Kansas City will hopefully make it back into the lineup. And then if you can start getting even just a little bit better on defense, that Kansas City team, it's going to be a very interesting December, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly should be. You look at the last 10 games, and the only game they're going to be an underdog in is when they play the Rams in Mexico on a Monday night.
And what is the over-under in that game? I've had this conversation with a few people now. Are we looking at 80? I mean, already we've seen close to 60 in an over-under, kind of unprecedented stuff here. But, I mean, what could be realistic in that game?
65,
wow,
66.
Yeah.
And I think I think most people are going to bang the over. I don't think either team can stop the other one. I don't think either team stops the other one. I don't know how. I mean, the Rams are tremendous offensively. The Chiefs, you could argue, are even better in some respects. They have the two most exciting, innovative offensive minds in football. And look, I think when you look at it, to get back to the previous question with the Chiefs, look, they are probably going to win 13 games, 14 games. I mean, there's not too many teams in the schedule left who are going to beat them. They got Oakland twice. They got Cleveland. They have Arizona. They have Denver. They just have a lot of games that they're going to beat up on teams. They've already played a pretty tough schedule on half of their road games. So, look, I think you saw with New England. New England won that game because they were able to score 43 points to have Tom Brady. It's going to take that kind of an effort to beat this team, even with a bad defense. Once you add in Eric Berry and Justin Houston, it's going to take a great effort to beat them. Is it capable from another team? Sure, maybe a Pittsburgh, somebody like that. But, the Chiefs right now, I wouldn't want to face them in January, especially at Arrowhead.
Yeah. It's and as long as they stay healthy and he stays upright, it's going to be very interesting for sure. Matt Verderam joining us, fansided.com. That's where you see him. Some great stuff. Matt, and I know you got a few articles up there about it, but it's we're starting to get to that point in the season where backup quarterbacks become very valuable for teams. Injuries are going to happen, especially in this league, and here in Miami, we got ourselves a backup, at least for the next couple of weeks, and Brock Osweiler, it is alive. The Brockified is alive, and it is well here in South Florida. How impressed were you with that game, the coaching from Adam Gase, the ability to put Brock Osweiler in a position to be successful? How impressed were you with what you saw from Brock Osweiler?
Well, for starters, I thought Gase did a tremendous job. The Bears are a very good defense. They bring a lot of pressure. They don't blitz. It makes it very hard to move the ball on them in big chunks. And I thought Gase was smart in saying, let's get the ball in some of our playmakers' hands and let's let them create, try to get some yards after the catch. And it worked. It worked beautifully. Albert Wilson, of course, had a huge game. They ended up scoring 31 points. But in terms of Brock, look, you know what? He threw a couple of picks, but beyond that, he played terrific football. I was shocked. I will be honest. I was absolutely floored that Brock Osweiler threw for 380 yards and 3 touchdowns against Chicago. I don't know how long Brocktober can last, but it was a tremendous win. And look, nobody's talking about Miami, and to some degree, understandably so. They went to New England in what was kind of a prove-it game, and they got blown out. But the Dolphins are 4-2. The AFC is not a very strong conference, maybe a little better than people expected, but still a little bit weaker than the NFC. And they have the Lions coming in. Well, if the Dolphins can beat a Lions team that's pretty mediocre, all of a sudden you're looking at 5-2, and a playoff spot is certainly possible for a team that a lot of people thought wouldn't win 5 games all year.
Yeah, no, and I mean, listen, it's a great story here in South Florida, and with what Adam Gase has done with this team, and they too have the injury bug, but they're going to get a little bit healthier, certainly on the defensive side of the ball. And Brock Osweiler's got to hold the fort down, a lot like what's happening in Buffalo right now. You got 105-year-old Derek Anderson that's going to be under center. They opted instead of Nathan Peterman. He would have lost the locker room, they're saying, Sean McDermott in Buffalo. But here you go. He's going to be under center. And really, with that defense, does it matter who the hell is under center at that? That defense is going to give that team a chance to win a game late. And that's really all you can ask for, I guess.
Yeah, the Bills have a really good defense. I don't think people realize that because the Bills have been like this punchline for almost 20 years running. But Buffalo can stop people. The problem for Buffalo has been Josh Allen can't hit water if he falls out of a boat. He's been very inaccurate, something that he was in college at Wyoming. And look, I don't think there's any question. As you mentioned, there were reports that McDermott would lose his team if he started Peterman. I don't even think that's up for debate.
Yeah.
Nathan Peterman, you could make a real argument. Nathan Peterman is the worst starting quarterback in NFL history for anybody who's thrown the ball more than 50 times. I mean, he has been an abomination. And look, Derek Anderson, he's ready for the rocking chair. But if he doesn't throw picks, if all Derek Anderson does is throw for like 200 yards and doesn't throw a bunch of picks, the Bills are going to be in the game against Indianapolis. Indianapolis is no house of fire. So, look, I think Derek Anderson's proven throughout his career he's capable of going in and playing well in short spurts. and that's more than Josh Allen and Nathan Peterman could say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. Matt Verderam joining us. It is fansided.com. Make sure you guys check it out. Head over there. Some great information across all the sports arenas. Some really great stuff, especially the NFL. And Matt, what has surprised you? I guess what is the one surprise in the NFL thus far that you look at through 6 weeks and you go, man, I didn't see that coming. I mean, we all kind of knew Patrick Mahomes was, for Andy Reid to buy into him as much as he did. But what else are you looking at and going, wow, I just didn't see that happening, man?
Yeah, there's a few. I would say the Falcons not being good, but to be fair, they're just so beaten up. I think that it kind of, not to give them a pass, but when you have all those injuries, it's going to happen. I would say the one thing that I was dead wrong, I thought the Giants would be a lot better this year. I thought with Pat Shurmur coming in, drafting Saquon Barkley, to me, the fact that they passed on Darnold for Barkley said that they thought they could win right now, that they could be a competitive team, that they could maybe win 9-10 games and fight in that NFC East. I thought the Eagles were obviously a very good team. I thought they might come down to earth a little bit, and they have. But I am shocked. The Giants are appallingly bad. To the point, really, that they just need to blow this entire thing up. I don't know what they do. I mean, Beckham, obviously, he's not going anywhere. They just signed him for 5 years, $95 million. But I think this is the last ride for Eli Manning. I don't know. Shurmur, I would imagine they're at least going to give the guy one more year. But this has been so bad. I really thought the Giants would be better, and they're just not. They're just an absolute disaster of a football team. I thought the Gruden thing in Oakland was going to go poorly. I thought he would be a bad head coach. I thought that 10 years is way too long to be out of the game and come back and magically recapture everything you did 20 years ago. But they have been just an absolute disaster. I mean, in every conceivable fashion. You could make an argument they're the worst team in football. And I thought they would be bad. I thought they'd be like a 6-10 team. Not in my wildest dreams, but I think Khalil Mack would be on the Bears, and they'd be talking about trading Cooper and Derek Carr. The poor guy's crying on the field. I mean, it has just gone so far off the rails. That I guess, just the extent of how bad that's gone has surprised me as well.
Yeah, who'd have figured hot tub time machine doesn't work in the NFL? I guess you can't run a team like it's 1998. Go figure. It's amazing to me. But 10 years, $100 million. He's going to be there at least until this team moves to Vegas. So we'll see how it plays out from there. I'll tell you one of the other things, and this story has been, gaining traction here is, can LA sustain two teams? Because apparently it's not going that well for the Chargers. And there was a lot of talk in the very beginning about them leaving San Diego, not cutting a deal there and staying there. The idea Orange County, California is going to host two teams, and the Rams is one thing, but man, apparently the seat licensing, the ticket deals, it's not going well for San Diego. Do you think two football teams in the NFL can sustain profitability in the LA market?
No, I don't. And I can say I didn't when they both moved there. Look, the Rams at least have a long storied history of being in that market. The Chargers, while they were originally the LA Chargers in 1960 before moving 1 year later, I mean, they have no history of being there. And, I think, look, the thing that hurts the Chargers is how good the Rams are. Let's face it, LA is a town that it loves stars and it loves being a front runner. And the Rams are really good. When the Rams had Jeff Fisher that first year, nobody came.
Yeah.
Nobody cared. And now all of a sudden they have this big draw, and they've got a bunch of stars. The Chargers are a good team. The Chargers are, in my opinion, the top 6-7 team in the league. The problem is they're playing in a soccer stadium. They don't have the history. And really beyond Rivers, and they don't have any big-time star that's a national star, despite having some very good players on the team. So I think ultimately, look, the Chargers should have stayed in San Diego and figured it out. The Spanos family didn't want to do that. Now there's talk, well, maybe St. Louis would take him. I don't see that happening. I think the Chargers are kind of a man without a country right now. Something will eventually get figured out, but it's not gone the way I'm sure the Spanos family expected it to go. And now all of a sudden you're looking at a situation where they're basically playing 16 road games a year. And I don't know that changes even with a new stadium.
Yeah, and don't discount the amount of Oakland Raider fans that are in that market too as well, and those two playing in the same division, it ain't helping. So you're not going to sell an awful lot of tickets to Oakland Raider fans in Southern California either. So it wouldn't surprise me if at some point they figure out a way to work a deal and get to go back to San Diego, because if you can't make money, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, no, there's no question. And look, I thought if they were going to move two teams to L.A., the Raiders should have gone to L.A. and take the Chargers to Vegas.
Yes.
Fine. But, but with the Raiders, going now to Vegas, I don't know how that works, especially now that they're brutal. I don't know that anybody's going to care in Vegas. I feel for the Oakland fans. The Chargers fans, I think, got kind of fed up with the situation, got fed up with the stadium, and kind of stopped coming out. But, look, at some point here, you need to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
This stadium's going up for the Rams. It's not going up for the Chargers. And if you're the Chargers, do you really want to be a second fiddle organization for the next 25 years?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you're signing up for. I agree with you. I think they should go hat in hand. They should go back to San Diego, figure it out, and move on. But, there's a lot of politics involved with that, and they're going to have to get funding and all the rest of it. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yes, it will. Matt Vertime joining us, fansided.com. I want to talk about your podcast here in a second, but I also want to get your thoughts. Who is the first NFL head coach to get canned this year? What is your money on?
Vance Joseph.
Oh.
I think it's over. I just, you watch the Broncos, and every week I watch every game, whether it's live or on Game Pass, and you just the coaching is just abominable. They have no idea how to run a functional offense on that team, and I get it. Like, he came over as a D coordinator. He's a defensive guy, but their defense hasn't even been that good. They've given up over 500 rushing yards the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at some point, Bronco fans are not used to losing. They're fed up. There were 9,000 no-shows for the game against the Rams. I think, ownership's going to notice that. I think John Elway recognizes, look, we got to get this right. Now their bye week isn't for, I believe it's the week 10. But, yeah, if this thing spirals and it looks like it's well on its way, and there's something like 3-7, I think he's gone, and I wouldn't be shocked if they try to bring Kubiak back if he's interested.
Least likely to be with the team next year, Jason Garrett, Bill O'Brien, or Dirk Cutter?
I would say Cutter, only because O'Brien got an extension for this year, and by the way, he if he didn't have an extension, would have been my pick over Joseph. But, oh, my God, watching that team try to play offense is just unbelievable.
Red zone's atrocious.
I don't know.
How can you be considered an offensive guru? You can't score in the red zone.
I mean, they've got Deshaun Watson. I saw a stat today. I want to give credit. I want to say it was NFL matchup on ESPN, and it was something to the effect of that, there have been no quarterbacks this year that have been hit more than 39 times, except for Watson, who's been hit 70. Like that's almost impossible.
Yes.
You have a quarterback who's had 2 torn ACLs in his career. He's the face of the franchise, and he's been hit 70 times. I think Cutter goes only because he's the easiest one to just lift out of there. They already fired the defensive coordinator. I think they might go for a full house cleaning with him, with Winston, the whole 9 yards. And with the Cowboys, look, I think Garrett should have been fired years ago. The problem is they're 3-3 and like borderline respectable right now. And for whatever reason, Jones just loves him.
Yeah.
So I think Cutter's gone for sure. And then probably Garrett at that. And then O'Brien, while he should be gone, won't be because they're paying him.
Yeah, well, and, don't say the good thing for the Cowboys is, the NFC East is atrocious, so they are still very relevant there. They also got all their guys back on defense. That defensive performance, even against Blake Bortles, they don't even have Sean Lee on the field, and when he comes back, that's a real defense right now. They've done a pretty good job of drafting over the last few years. These are the guys. David Irving's back now. You get Sean Lee, Van Der Esch, the guy they picked over Calvin Ridley. That defense was pretty damn good.
Oh, they can play.
Yeah.
This is the best defense they've had since Rod Marinelli's been there.
Yep.
Their linebacking core, Jalen Smith, Sean Lee, as you mentioned, Leighton Van Der Esch out of Boise State. And then you start looking at the back end, Jeff Heath is an underrated safety. They got Chidobe Awuzie, who's a real good up-and-coming corner. And then guys like Irving up front and DeMarcus Lawrence and all the rest of it. No, they have a lot of talent. Now, Dallas can't score unless they're playing Jacksonville, apparently. They can't score a point. But if they can run the ball on you and Prescott can just convert some third downs, keep the chains moving, they're tough because they can play defense. But, look, the problem Dallas is going to run into is at some point teams are going to stack the box and say, go ahead and beat me.
Yep.
And I don't know that they can with that group of receivers. But for now, an interesting team. They are playing very well defensively.
Yep. And it's listen, the NFL's always better when the Cowboys are relevant. It's like the Yankees and the Red Sox. It's better when the Cowboys are relevant on some level. So they certainly do have a lot of fans that are going to be rooting for them. And I want to ask you also, Matt, before I let you go here, because I do want to talk about the podcast. How much credit? We all know, we've been hearing 6 weeks into the season, the ratings have been astronomical, fantastic for the NFL. I've heard 4 or 5 different reasons, whether it be the anthem protests or, the rookie quarterbacks, but nobody's talking about what I think one of the main reasons is the legalization, the gambling legalization here. New Mexico today, add them to the list. We'll have 2 or 3 more states by the end of the year. How much credit do you give the actual legalization of sports betting now as a reason as to why the ratings are where they're at?
I think that's a great call. I definitely think that's part of it. And I also think, look, last year was the year of injuries in the NFL. There were a lot of teams that were just absolutely decimated, especially the quarterback position. You had a lot of primetime games with backup quarterbacks. And this year, that just hasn't been the case. There's been a lot of good primetime games. I don't put any stock in this stuff, the anthem protest. I don't think that factored in last year when the ratings were down a little bit. I don't think it factors in this year. I don't think most people care. I think most people that say that they're boycotting are sitting there watching on Sundays and then screaming that they're boycotting on Mondays. I think most of those people are full of it, to be quite honest. But that all said, look, I think, again, the betting I do think's a part. I do think that some of it is just, the natural ebb and flow ratings. But I think also, you look at that game on Sunday night with New England and Kansas City. If you're even just a casual football fan, you're going to want to watch that game. Yep. I mean, Brady and Mahomes and then, of course, the game lives up to the hype. If those two teams play each other in January, anybody who can watch that game who's a football fan is going to sit down and watch it. So I think you got a lot of good young talent quarterback position, and you've got these older guys trying to hang on. I think it makes for good theater. I think the NFL is really having a nice season.
Yeah, they are, and it's only going to go up from there. You still got the Rodgers, the Bradys, the Drew Breeses, and now you throw in, the Carson Wentzes and the Jared Goffs and the Sam Darnolds. And have you been impressed with Sam Darnold thus far this year with what you've seen, his progression?
I have, yeah. Darnold, he comes out and plays really well the first couple of weeks, and then he didn't play well on Thursday Night Football against Cleveland in Week 3. And I think, that national stuff, it always matters because that's when people are going to see you the most. He didn't play well in that game, took a lot of criticism. Look, the Jets don't have a lot of talent around them offensively, but I think he's played very well. Yeah, I thought he played excellent against the Colts. His completion rate wasn't great against Denver, but he hit for 3 touchdowns, big plays down the field to Robbie Anderson. I think Darnold's going to be fine. I think Darnold's going to be a really good player in this league. I like him and Mayfield quite a bit. I think they're going to be the 2 best rookies out of that class. Again, you mentioned Goff and Wentz. It's a very good group. You have Mahomes, of course. There's a lot of quarterbacks right now in the NFL who it seems that once the Breezes and the Bradys and the Roethlisbergers retire, the NFL's in good shape. They got a lot of guys, even Deshaun Watson, I should mention, another young quarterback, a lot of guys who are looking to take over that mantle.
Yeah, and don't sleep on Josh Rosen. I know he's buried in Arizona, and nobody gets to see him on the national landscape. But I've had a chance to watch him now in the last couple of games, and I'm impressed. You want to talk about with very little around him. I mean, they finally figured out David Johnson is on that team, but here's another guy that can absolutely ball, and the future looks bright in Arizona with the starting quarterback.
Yeah, he was excellent against Minnesota. They lost that game. He was 21-31. He threw the ball over the park. And you're right. Like, they just don't have a lot of talent. And they have David Johnson. They have a rookie head coach.
Yeah.
Fitzgerald's in the twilight of his career. But he is a guy who I thought got an unfair rap. I remember the big knock on him coming out was that he's too intellectual. I mean, if the biggest knock on you is that you have a brain, to me, it'll forever be amazing that Josh Allen got picked ahead of him. And I have the receipts that I wrote in April saying there's just no way. I mean, Josh Allen shouldn't even be a first-round pick, and yet, you know, Rosen's getting knocked because he can think. It's incredible.
Yes.
But, yeah, you're right. I like Rosen quite a bit, and that team's obviously in a rebuilding phase, but I think they'll come out well on the other side.
Yeah, I do too. I think the NFL is in good hands. Matt Verdemay, fansided.com, also has one of the best podcasts out there. One of the most, you want to talk about educational and fun stuff going on. Talk to us, Matt, about the podcast, how we can listen to it, and all that good stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. So Josh Hill and myself, we do it every Sunday night during the Sunday Night Football game, and we'll break down the week that was. We preview the week ahead. We talk about the line. We talk about who we would take in the game, who may cover the spread, who may not, and, of course, just straight up. We cover all the main headlines as we head toward the playoffs. We'll always go over playoff picture a little bit as well at the beginning of each podcast. So it's usually an hour long. It can be found on iTunes. Go ahead, download it, subscribe to it. Leave a comment, leave a rating. Hit up myself, again, as you mentioned earlier, and Matt Verderam, which is I'm always on Twitter, whether I like to be or not. But I love interacting with people and hearing about the podcast. So stacking the box, and we really love doing it, and we always like to hear feedback.
Yeah, and it's some great stuff, too. So make sure that you guys check it out on iTunes. Also, head over to fansided.com. You'll see Matt's stuff there, too. Always some great articles, especially heading into the weekends. You got Thursday Night Football tomorrow night, and then the games on the weekend. Some great point of view stuff there. Make sure you guys check it out, fansided.com. Matt, I can't thank you enough for taking some time and hanging out with us. This was fun, man. I look forward to doing it again, man, and enjoy the games. But thanks for taking some time and hanging out with us.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Appreciate it. Fansided.com, Matt Verdemay. Make sure you check him out. Yeah, it was one of my absolute favorite websites to go to. Some great takes, and Matt's got some great of them also. Make sure you guys check out that podcast. It is awesome. So, man, we were loaded today, did we not? Man, we just crossed the board. Started out with our buddy Scott Miller from Bleacher Report talking Major League Baseball and some just great stuff that we learned from him, as I should probably shut my phone off. That's broadcasting 101 there. But Scotty Miller came by, some great stuff about tonight's Boston-Houston game, elimination game, getting ready for that. Also, Ralph Michaels stopping by wagertalk.com, laying the knowledge down not only on tonight's games, but also Saturday and Sunday college football, NFL. And you just heard from Matt Verdemay there, fansided.com. Just a whole lot of knowledge, a whole lot of sports fun. Also want to thank you guys for stopping by. We got Villa Man, we got Christy coming by, we got Frank, Steve, Michael. Want to appreciate all you guys hanging out with us. Don't forget, head over to wagertalk.com. Whole bunch of free information there that you guys are going to need. It's all about the trends. It's all about the more knowledge you know, the better off you're going to be, especially when it comes to betting on, I think, the second most active night in sports gambling history, where we've got every, and I'm talking every, Major League Baseball, NHL, NBA, NFL, college football, Major League Soccer, all of it is available to bet on tonight, and you can use all the help you can get. Trust me on that. It's wagertalk.com. That's where you guys want to go and get your information. And also, if you missed any of these interviews, the best part about what we do here, streaming to you guys live each and every Monday through Friday beginning at 4 p.m., is that the interviews will be available as soon as we're done here. You can just fast forward to them, get to see the information that you need, write it down, get it going, and you've got it. And we just ask that you guys go ahead and like and share and retweet and subscribe and follow us and do all of that good stuff. And if you like what you're seeing, please go ahead and engage us, because we love it, and that's how it works on social media. Always your phone calls too, 855-983-2255, the Miami Acura hotline. Want to thank them. Want to thank Superior Cruise and Travel, low-cost airlines, and, of course, wagertalk.com and Miami Acura for supporting us here, and they support us. We certainly hope that you will support them. Make sure you follow all of these guys, Scotty Miller, Matt Verdemay, Ralph Michaels. Make sure you come back and join us again tomorrow night 4 p.m. We'll head you into the weekend the right way. We'll have all the trends, all the numbers that you need to know, the latest injury reports. Also want to thank Matt Latufsky, sportingnews.com. How could I forget Matt, the fantasy god over at sportingnews.com, for coming by. A lot of great information from him also in today's episode, so make sure that you guys rewind and take a look at that. Come back. Join us tomorrow, 4 o'clock. We'll do it all over again. Enjoy the games tonight, guys. Thanks for making us a part of your day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks.